My dad chose his new wife over me, so I moved in with my brother. When Dad came begging me to return home, I dropped life-changing news that turned our entire family dynamic upside down and made him finally face the truth. My dad chose his new wife over me, so I moved in with my brother. When Dad came begging for me to return, I hit him with news that changed everything. I'm Emma 17F, and I've been grappling with a family situation that's been weighing on me for years. To give you some context, I live with my dad 45M, stepmom Lena 40F, and stepsister Zoe 16F. My mom passed away when I was 10 after a long battle with cancer. Those years were tough on all of us, especially Dad. He threw himself into work and taking care of me, barely keeping it together. Looking back, I realized how much I relied on my older brother Alex 22M during that time. He was 15 when Mom died, but he stepped up in ways I couldn't have imagined. He'd make me breakfast, help me with homework, and always knew how to make me laugh. Even on the worst days, we developed this goofy, playful relationship that became our coping mechanism. Dad understood and even encouraged it, saying it reminded him of how he and Mom used to be. Dad met Lena about 2 years after Mom. She was a colleague at his law firm, recently divorced with a daughter close to my age. At first, I was cautiously optimistic. Dad seemed happier, and I thought maybe we could be a family again. But things moved fast, too fast for my liking. Within 6 months, they were engaged, and suddenly, I was expected to embrace this new family dynamic. The wedding was a whirlwind. I remember standing there in my bridesmaid dress, feeling like I was watching a stranger's life unfold. Alex noticed how uncomfortable I was and spent the whole reception making silly faces at me from across the room, trying to cheer me up. That's when Lena first showed signs of disapproval towards our relationship. She pulled Alex aside and told him he needed to act more appropriately at a wedding. Living with Lena and Zoe was an adjustment, to say the least. Lena had a very different parenting style from what I was used to. She was strict with lots of rules about curfews, chores, and proper behavior. Zoe seemed to thrive under this structure, but I felt suffocated. I missed the warmth and spontaneity of our old family life. Alex was my lifeline during this transition. He'd come over often, usually with some ridiculous prank plan to make me laugh. Once he showed up in a full Superman costume, claiming he was there to rescue me from the evil stepmother. Dad thought it was hilarious, but Lena was furious. She said it was disrespectful and that Alex was undermining her authority. As the years went by, the tension between Lena and me grew. She constantly criticized my clothes, my friends, and especially my relationship with Alex. She made comments about how unhealthy it was for siblings to be so close and how I needed to grow up and stop relying on him so much. Dad tried to mediate, but he always seemed torn. He'd defend me to a point, but then back down when Lena pushed back. I could see the conflict in his eyes, and it hurt to think that he might choose his new wife over his kids. Things came to a head last week during our annual Labor Day barbecue. It's usually a big event with extended family and friends, a tradition Mom started years ago. This year, Alex had just moved back home after graduating college, and I was thrilled to have him around more. We were all by the pool, and I decided to sneak up on Alex and push him, and it's a game we've played a million times before. Alex is a good sport and always laughs it off. This time was no different. He came up spluttering and laughing, then grabbed my ankle and pulled me into. We were both cracking up, but Lena stormed over, face red with anger. She started yelling at Alex, saying he could have hurt me and that he was being irresponsible. I tried to explain that it was just a joke and that I had pushed him first, but she wouldn't listen. Then she turned on me, telling me I was too old for such childish behavior and that I needed to grow up. By this point, our entire extended family was watching the scene unfold. I was so embarrassed and angry that I just snapped. I told Lena to mind her own business and that she had no right to dictate how Alex and I interact. The silence that followed was deafening. I could see the shock on everyone's faces. I'd never spoken to Lena like that before. Dad finally stepped in and told everyone to calm down, but the damage was done. The barbecue ended early, with most of our relatives making awkward excuses to leave later that night. Dad came to my room to talk. He said he understood where I was coming from, but that I needed to apologize to Lena for causing a scene. I refused. I told Dad that Lena was the one who blew everything out of proportion and that I was tired of her trying to change my relationship with Alex. I reminded him of all the times Lena had criticized us, how she tried to impose rules on Alex even though he was an adult, and how she constantly made me feel like I wasn't good enough. I asked him why he never stood up for us, why he always seemed to take her side. Dad looked hurt and disappointed. He said I was being unfair, That Lena had done a lot for our family. He talked about how hard it had been for him after Mom died, how Lena had helped him put his life back together. He said I needed to try harder to make this blended family work, but I couldn't shake the feeling that in trying to create this new family, Dad had forgotten about the one he already had. I told him I wouldn't apologize unless Lena did too for all the time she made me feel unwelcome in my own home. Dad left my room without resolving anything. Now the atmosphere at home is unbearable. Lena won't speak to me directly, only communicating through Dad or Zoe. Alex feels guilty and has been avoiding coming over, which only makes me feel more isolated. Zoe keeps trying to play peacemaker, telling me that Lena really does care about me and that I should give her a chance. But Zoe doesn't understand. She's never had to adjust to a new parent, never had to feel like an outsider in her own family. I've been thinking a lot about Mom lately, wondering what she would say if she could see us now. Would she be disappointed in me for not trying harder with Lena, or would she understand why I'm finding it so difficult? I don't think I did anything wrong at the barbecue, but the silent treatment is getting to me. I miss the easy relationship I used to have with Dad, the fun times with Alex. I feel like I'm being punished for having a close relationship with my brother, and it's not fair. Part of me wants to just suck it up and apologize to keep the peace, but another part feels like if I do that, I'll be giving up a piece of myself, of the family I used to have. I'm torn between wanting things to go back to normal and realizing that maybe this is the new normal, and I'm the one who needs to change. Should I apologize to Lena? Should I try harder to fit into this new family dynamic, or should I stand my ground and hope that eventually they'll understand my perspective? I feel lost and could really use some advice. Update: when it's been about a month since the barbecue incident, and I wish I could say things have improved, but they've only gotten worse. I decided to stand my ground and not apologize to Lena, which has led to some major changes in our household. First off, Alex has stopped coming over altogether. He called me last week to explain that Lena had sent him a long text message accusing him of undermining her authority and setting a bad example for me and Zoe. She apparently went into detail about how his immature behavior was hindering my development and causing discord in the family. Alex said he thought it was best to keep his distance for a while to let things cool down. I was furious that Lena had gone behind our backs to push Alex away, but he begged me not to confront her about it. He's always been the peacekeeper, even when we were kids, and I could hear the strain in his voice. This isn't the first time Lena has tried to come between us. I remember when I was 14 and Alex was heading off to college, Lena suggested that maybe it would be healthier for me if we didn't talk as much, so I could develop my own identity. Dad shut that down quickly, but I never forgot it. Now it feels like she's finally gotten her way. Dad has been trying to play mediator, but it's clear he's struggling. He pulled me aside after dinner one night and practically begged me to apologize to Lena, saying it would make everyone's lives easier. I told him I consider it if Lena apologized to me and Alex first, but he said that was unlikely to happen. I could see the conflict in his eyes, and for a moment, he looked so much like the lost, grieving man he was after Mom died. It made me wonder if his relationship with Lena was as solid as he claimed. The tension at home has been unbearable. Lena has started implementing new house rules that seem specifically designed to target me. For example, she set a curfew of 9 p.m. on weeknights and 10 p.m. on weekends, but only for me. Zoe doesn't have a curfew at all. When I pointed out the unfairness, Lena said it was because I had proven I couldn't be trusted to make good decisions. She's also started monitoring my phone usage and has threatened to take away my car privileges if I don't start showing more respect. Dad half-heartedly backed her up on this, which hurt more than I'd like to admit. It reminded me of all the times over the years when he'd side with Lena in small ways, each time chipping away at the close relationship we used to have. I tried talking to Zoe about it, but she just tells me to apologize and stop making waves. I can't really blame her. She's never known it any different. She was so young when her parents got married that this is just normal family life to her. Sometimes I envy her ability to just go with the flow, but then I remember all the good times with Mom and Alex, and I know I can't just pretend those memories don't matter. The final straw came last weekend when I overheard Lena and Dad arguing about me. Lena was saying that she thought it would be best if I went to live with my grandparents for a while to learn some discipline. She brought up how her own parents had sent her to live with an aunt during her rebellious phase and how it had straightened her out. Dad wasn't fully on board with the idea, but he wasn't exactly shutting it down either. Hearing that conversation brought back a flood of memories. When Mom was sick, there was talk of sending Alex and me to live with our grandparents so Dad could focus on her care. I remember how terrified I was at the thought of being Separated from my parents during such a scary time, Alex was the one who convinced Dad to let us stay, promising to help out more the house. Now here was history repeating itself. But this time Alex wasn't here to stand up for me. I'm scared and angry. I feel like I'm being pushed out of my own home just because I won't conform to Lena's idea of how a family should behave. The house is full of memories of Mom. Her favorite armchair is still in the living room. Her cookbooks are still in the kitchen. The thought of leaving all that behind feels like losing her all over again. I've started looking at old family photos from before Mom got sick. There's one of all four of us at the beach, Dee giving me a piggyback ride while Mom and Alex make silly faces at the camera. We all look so happy and carefree. I can't help but wonder what Mom would think of all this. Would she be disappointed in me for not trying harder with Lena, or would she understand why I'm finding it so difficult? I'm seriously considering calling Alex and asking if I can move in with him, even though it would mean changing schools for my senior year. I don't want to leave Dad, but I can't shake the feeling that he's chosen Lena and her rules over me. Part of me hopes that if I threaten to leave, Dad will finally stand up to Lena and things will go back to normal. But another part of me is afraid that he'll just let me go. Am I overreacting? Should I just apologize and try to follow Lena's rules until I graduate, or should I start making plans to get out of this house as soon as possible? I feel like I'm at a crossroads, and whatever decision I make will change my life forever. I could really use some advice on how to handle this situation. Update: to things have escalated dramatically since my last update. After much deliberation and encouragement from my best friend, I decided to have a heart-to-heart with Dad. Without Lena present, I asked him to meet me at the local park where he used to take Alex and me when we were kids. It felt like neutral ground away from the tension of the house. When we met, I laid everything out for him: how I felt pushed aside since he married Lena, how her rules seemed unfairly targeted at me, and how hurt I was that he wasn't standing up for me more. I even told him about overhearing the conversation about sending me to live with my grandparents. As I spoke, memories came flooding back. I told him about the time Lena threw away the macaroni art I had made with Mom when I was 6, claiming it was cluttering up the fridge. I reminded him of how she'd insisted on redecorating my room when she moved in, getting rid of the butterfly wallpaper Mom and I had picked out together. Each incident seemed small on its own, but together they painted a picture of how I'd felt erased from my own home over the years. Dad seemed shocked. He swore he had no intention of sending me away and that Lena had only suggested it in the heat of an argument. He apologized for not being more supportive and promised to talk to Lena about easing up on the rules. For a moment, I felt like I had my old dad back, the one who used to be firmly in my corner. I felt relieved after our talk, but that feeling didn't last long. When we got home, we found Lena in a state. Apparently, she had gone through my room while we were out and found my diary in it. I had written some pretty harsh things about her and Zoe, venting my frustrations over the past few years. Lena was livid. She accused me of being two-faced and ungrateful. She brought up every little thing I'd ever done wrong and threw it in my face. She talked about how hard she tried to be a good stepmom, how she'd given up her own dreams of having more kids to focus on raising me and Zoe. She said she'd always felt like an outsider in her own home because of my close relationship with Alex and Dad. Dad tried to calm her down, but she was on a roll in the heat of the moment. Lena said something I'll never forget. She told Dad that he needed to choose between me and her because she couldn't live with someone who hated her so much. I was stunned. I looked at Dad, expecting him to shut this down immediately, and instead, he hesitated. That moment of hesitation felt like it lasted forever. In that pause, I saw flashes of my whole life: Mom's funeral, Dad's wedding to Lena, all the family dinners and holidays where I felt like a stranger in my own home. I didn't wait to hear his answer. I ran to my room, threw some clothes and essentials into a bag, and called Alex. As I was packing, I grabbed a photo album Mom had made for me before she died. It was one of the few things of hers that Lena hadn't managed to declutter over the years. Alex came to pick me up within the hour. Dad tried to stop me from leaving, saying we could work this out, but I couldn't bear to look at him. As I was walking out the door, I heard Zoe crying, begging me not to go. It broke my heart, but I couldn't stay. I've been staying with Alex for the past week. He's been amazing, helping me figure out my options for finishing school and offering to let me stay with him long-term if needed. We've spent hours talking about Mom, reminiscing about old times, and sharing memories that Lena Could never understand. I'm still processing everything that happened and trying to decide what to do next. Part of me feels guilty for leaving, especially when I think about Zoe, but another part feels relieved, like I can finally breathe again. Dad has been calling and texting nonstop, begging me to come home. He says he's sorry and that he chooses me, but I don't know if I can trust that anymore. Lena hasn't reached out at all, which speaks volumes. I'm torn between wanting to go back home and finish my senior year as planned, and wanting to start fresh somewhere else. Alex says I can stay with him as long as I need, but I don't want to be a bird. Plus, I worry about what this might do to his relationship with Dad. What should I do? Should I give Dad another chance? Or is it time to accept that my family isn't what I thought it was and move on? I feel like I'm standing at a crossroads, and I'm not sure which path to take. Update 3. It's been 2 months since I left home, and a lot has changed. After much soul-searching and long talks with Alex, I decided to stay with him and finish my senior year at a new school. It wasn't an easy decision, but I feel like it was the right one for me. Dad didn't make it well when I told him I wasn't coming back. He showed up at Alex's apartment unannounced one evening, alternating between anger and pleading. He accused Alex of turning me against him and threatened to cut off financial support for both of us. It was shocking to see Dad like that. He'd always been the calm, rational one in our family. Alex stood his ground and told Dad he needed to respect my decision. In the end, Dad left, but not before saying some pretty hurtful things. He said I was ungrateful and that I was throwing away everything he and Mom had worked for. That last part really stung. I spent days afterwards going through Mom's photo album, wondering if I was letting her down somehow. Lena sent me a long email a few weeks ago. It wasn't exactly an apology, more of a justification for her actions. She said she had only been trying to do what was best for the family and that she hoped one day I'd understand. She talked about how hard it had been for her to step into a ready-made family, always feeling like she was competing with a ghost. I could almost sympathize with her, but then she ended the email by saying she still thought needed professional help to deal with my attachment issues to Alex. I didn't respond. Zoe has reached out a few times, mostly to tell me how much Dad is struggling without me. She says he's been drinking more and arguing with Lena constantly. I know she means well, but it feels manipulative, like she's trying to guilt me into coming back. I've been keeping my responses brief and to the point. I miss Zoe, but I need to maintain some boundaries right now. On a positive note, I'm settling into my new school pretty well. It was tough at first being the new kid in senior year, but I've made a few friends. There's a girl in my English class, Mia, who lost her dad a few years ago. We've bonded over our shared experiences of grief and blended families. It's nice to have someone who really understands. My grades are good, and I'm even thinking about college applications. Alex has been helping me research schools and scholarships. It's exciting to think about the future and all the possibilities ahead of me. Alex has been incredible through all of this. He's helped me set up a part-time job at a local bookstore to cover my expenses, and he's been teaching me how to budget and manage my own finances. It's not always easy, but I feel like I'm growing up fast. We've had some great talks about Mom sharing memories and stories. It's bittersweet, but it feels like we're honoring her memory in a way we couldn't when we were living with Lena. I still miss Dad sometimes, especially when I think about graduation coming up. I always imagined him being there cheering me on, but then I remember how he hesitated when Lena gave him that ultimatum, and I know I made the right choice. I need to prioritize my own well-being. Last week, I ran into my Aunt Mom's sister at the grocery store. She hugged me tightly and said she was proud of me for standing up for myself. She invited me over for dinner, saying she had some of Mom's old things she wanted to give me. It was a reminder that even though I've left my immediate family, I still have people who care about me. I'm not sure what the future holds. Part of me hopes that someday Dad will realize how much damage Lena has done to our relationship and make some changes, but I'm not holding my breath for now. I'm focused on finishing school strong and planning for college. I'm proud of myself for standing up for what I believe in, even though it was the hardest thing I've ever done. I've learned that sometimes family isn't about blood or legal ties, but about the people who support you and make you feel valued. To those who supported me through this journey, thank you. Your advice and encouragement helped me more than you know. And to anyone else going through something similar, remember that you have the right to be treated with respect and love in your own home. Don't be afraid to make tough choices for your own well-being.